Hello and welcome to Fidelity Next. I'm your host, Nicole Correale. Whether you're just starting your career or looking for your next step, client services can be an exciting and rewarding path. Client services is at the heart of Fidelity's commitment to investors and advisors, providing them with expert guidance, problem solving, and personalized support. Today, I'm joined by two client services professionals who have grown their careers within Fidelity, starting in client services and advancing through new opportunities, skill development, and leadership experiences. Please join me in welcoming Yorik Thebaud, Manager of Private Investments and Institutional Operations and Estates, and Sabrina Siddique, Product Owner. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Sabrina, you've worked your way up, and now you are a product owner. What does that mean?
Okay, so as a product owner, it's my responsibility to really ensure that that product that I own is is working successfully. And it's really more on the project side. So for instance, if there's any projects where the application that I own is, involved, then it's my duty to ensure that, that the project is going well, it's starting, planning the project, right? So when it comes to projects, there's so many different pieces involved. So it's really my role to ensure that, we have everything we need to get this project done. We work with developers, we work with business analysts, quality analysts as well, quality assurance analysts. So it's really more on the project side where you're ensuring that you're using the entire value of that product in these different projects.
And it sounds quite technical as well.
Honestly, it is quite technical, but it's more on the project side, which is really exciting because you get to meet with all these different businesses within within Fidelity. You're working with people you've never worked with before. And it's amazing because I also get to connect with the team, global teams as well.
Right.
So we have a team in Dalian. We have teams in India as well. So it's great to be able to connect with different developers.
I was going to say, yeah, that sounds nice to be able to connect with, not just here in even the Toronto office, but from around the world.
Exactly. It's been great so far. So I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, in Yorik, you have one of the longest titles I've ever had to introduce. And I should have just shortened it now to Manager of Private Investments, but please do the honors.
I need to work with marketing to figure out any title. So I'm the manager of our private investment, institutional operations, and estates team. So I look at it this way. There's essentially 4 lines of business. I manage or oversee a team of 30 people. I like to say I work for 30 people because really they're my eyes and ears on the floor. And really what they're doing every day is a variety of different things across 4 lines of business. So one, you may have heard of our employee benefits known as family plan or house accounts. So everything that's relating to calls, processing transactions for those that want to open an account, trade on their account, purchase, redemptions, exchanges, etc. Our team handles that. Then similarly, on our high net worth side, we have what's called private investment pools and other high net worth programs you may have heard of, such as our Fidelity Preferred Program. So a lot of these different, I'll say, requests that our clients might have also flow through our team. And then we also have the institutional side of the business. So we're unique as well in PIO, or private investment institutional operations, in that we're the only one really within client services that also supports our institutional partners operationally. So transactions come in again for our defined benefits or defined contributions, pensions, etc. Those will flow to us and we're supporting them as well. And then last but not least as well, we have our estates team. So when a client passes away, comes to us as well in terms of handling that, whether it's with the executor, the advisor, what do I need to settle the account? From that perspective, we're supporting them as well on a very sensitive matter in those situations as well.
So you both have had such illustrious and rich careers here with Fidelity. And I would like to know, I'll pose to you first, Yorik, how did you get your start with client services?
Thanks for having me again, Nicole. So I started in our advisor service center, which is really our call center, front lines. So essentially I started there about 9 years ago, and I did that role for about a year, essentially before moving on to different opportunities and roles within client services.
And yourself?
So for me, I also started at Advisor Service Center. So there I was hired as a service quality analyst. So I did that for over 2 years. And then I did have quite a journey, but that was my first role.
And what did your first role teach you, not only about the industry, about yourself, client services? What was the key takeaway, would you say?
So I guess I'll go first.
Sure.
So my key takeaway would have to be really knowing your audience, right? Because as a service quality analyst, you're dealing with your stakeholders, you're dealing with your partners, You're dealing with, the management team. So being able to really tailor whatever information you're providing to them, I think it's important to know your audience. But I think the major takeaway I had was being able to analyze the data. So I think that was definitely a key takeaway for me.
Yorik, what are some of the soft skills needed to thrive in client services?
I would say there's a few. A big one would be listening skills. So really, to Sabrina's point, when it comes to quality of service, you're really anticipating client needs, but really you're listening to the advisor, right? They may come to you with a problem, an impact that they're having, and you're really having to use a lot of your skills and what you're learning, I'll say, from training to communicate that to the client and also anticipate in terms of solutions. So you might say, okay, there's one, maybe two problems. What can we do about it? What can I do to make it easier for our advisors? And that's what you're constantly thinking through, I'll say, in terms of the calls and interactions with our advisors ultimately.
So definitely problem solving.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like it must have been challenging if you're fresh, you're right into client services, maybe it's, one of your first roles, and for a lot of individuals coming out of university, it is their first role. And I think one of the, challenges or worries is dealing with, those who have problems, questions, and you might not be able to help them. So what sort of support, I'll pose this to you, Yorik, what sort of support did Fidelity give you? How did you handle these challenging situations?
Honestly, the training is rigorous. So you're well supported from a training perspective, but also when it comes to when you're actually out in the field, we can put it that way, where you're taking the calls, you've got great support around you because it's a very collaborative environment. If I can touch on a bit on the culture, that's what stands out to me. What makes a great place to work at Fidelity, in the Advisor Service Center, wherever I've been, it's been that collaborative teamwork collaboration where it's okay, you're coming with a problem, you may not have the answer, you can work with your peers to figure that out together. And you're always, I'll say, open to kind of saying, okay, here's what I'm thinking, and other ideas can come into play. So you're really using your creative thinking skills to come up with some creative solutions to make it easier for our clients.
That's awesome. Would you say it's a very collaborative role or it's more individual?
I would say the Advisor Service Center, there's a bit of both, but more collaboration.
Right.
Because ultimately you're having to constantly, when you're communicating to a client on the phone, you're having to think on your feet in a way. So you're using your skills, and ultimately you may not always have the answer. So it's also being comfortable with not having the answer. So you might have to use your resources. You might have to go to your peers and work together to figure out some solutions. Because not everything, some things come at you fast, right? The Advisor Service Center is a fast-paced environment. So there might be problems coming at you left and right. And so really from a movement standpoint, you're always thinking, okay, maybe I need to go my peers in maybe our processing team and work with them on this solution. Or maybe I need to go to what's called our service solutions unit team, where they handle adjustments and corrections and collaborate with them to figure out a solution to the problem. So you're always kind of having to collaborate, not only within your own team, but with other teams within client services as well.
Right. What I love most about both of your journeys is that you have grown so much since you started in the Advisor Service Center role. But I want to bring it back to even before that. Sabrina, what did you study in school? Was this even something that you thought of working in finance? Is this what you wanted to do?
Honestly, no. So I studied at University of Toronto, and I basically received my undergrad in business management. So there I obtained my Bachelor of Business Administration. And I'll be honest, when I graduated, I had no idea where to go. Because it's such a specialist degree where, it's business management, right? So there's so much you can do with that. But for me, Fidelity was my calling. And, what really sold me with Fidelity is the fact that it's such a growing company that every day, new ideas, new teams are being created. Right? So the opportunities are endless. So that's pretty much, that's one of the reasons why I've stayed at Fidelity for as long as I have.
That gives hope to people who are watching and do want to get a career in finance and maybe don't know where to start, but it's a good starting point, and then you can really find, your niche and where you do want to go. What about yourself, Yorik? How did you get into this role?
I guess it goes back to high school first and foremost, how I first heard about Fidelity. So I read Peter Lynch's book, Going Up on Wall Street. So I got into finance a little bit that way. And then I studied at University of Ottawa International School of Management. So I did a Telfer School of Management, International Management Program. And really, I knew that I wanted to go into the finance field, didn't know, similar to Sabrina, didn't know perhaps where do I start. So it was kind of like looking for opportunities, and Fidelity is just one of those companies that I looked up right away. So everything that I saw that was sort of that entry-level opportunity role, I applied for it. I literally walked into the human resources, I'll say in terms of reception, try to get in touch with human resources to hand my resume. I applied online, I think it was a few days, I didn't hear back. So I went into the reception to kind of see, can I get in touch with someone at human resources? So that's how I got my opportunity. I spoke French, so that was a big, I'll say, skill in terms of giving that opportunity where they're looking for bilingual people as well. And that's how I got my foot in the door, really, in terms of an interview opportunity.
Well, I think it shows persistence is key, advocating for yourself, and you did all the right things. Networking is key, but I love that you just shared, those things you did to go above and beyond to really make sure that you did get your foot in the door. What is one piece of career advice that you would give to new grads or students looking to pursue a career in finance?
In finance. Okay, so one piece of advice I would give is learn the fundamentals, right? So definitely take the time. There's so many courses available online, whether it's on LinkedIn or Udemy or any of these websites. There's so much you can learn from. But so yeah, definitely learn the fundamentals. Also, learn professional writing. I feel that you do professional writing a lot in any career, right? So I think being able to perfect that, and whether it's emails or even communication, I think it's really important to have that skill as well.
And you mentioned when we were preparing for this webcast today, you said that so you used to be in the business side and now you're on the technical side.
Yeah.
What made you want to do that change? Did it just sort of fall into you, the opportunity, and you took it? Also important to say yes to new opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Always.
Can you speak to that a bit?
Absolutely. So on the business side, you do get the opportunity to work on different projects, right? So whenever I would attend these meetings, you hear a lot of technical jargon. And at times you might feel like you don't know anything at all. So the main reason behind me moving into the project side is mainly because I had 6 years of experience working with the applications, right? So for me, there's an opportunity for me to work on the other side where you're actually managing these applications, right? So for me, it was exciting. It's a new territory, right? Going away from the business side and more into technical. And I felt like it's a good way to learn a brand new skill, right? Gain a new skill set, really. So it was a perfect opportunity because I had experience with using these applications for the 6 years I've been with Advisor Service Center. Now here's an opportunity for me to work on the other side of the business. And it just worked out because they needed a subject matter expert for these applications, right? So I think at the end of the day, you really kind of have to trust yourself and learn as much as possible because you're going to have all these opportunities to work on projects, initiatives. So it's really up to you to take ownership and really be involved.
Right. And adding to that, from what I hear as well, is that Fidelity does provide, great learning opportunities. I know, Yorik, you have grown tremendously within the company, and now you're mostly in, leadership and management. What are some of the development opportunities that Fidelity offers that maybe you've also done yourself that you really thought were outstanding?
Yeah, absolutely. But we touched on it a little bit in terms of the soft skills. So I would say the Advisor Service Center, at least in terms of the training, I'll say opened my eyes a lot more in terms of those soft skills, meaning communication, the listening aspects. And I think that translates to a lot of different roles within client services. So we talk a lot about transferable skills.
Right.
So really everything that you learn, whether you're in the back office and you're doing operations and it's a bit more individualistic versus the Advisor Service Center, maybe a little bit more collaborative, you're really taking a lot of knowledge, as Sabrina touched on, in terms of foundation within the industry, and you're using a lot of the skills that you develop that you can transfer to different roles. So I always say this in terms of when you're starting, you touched on it in terms of embracing opportunities, saying yes to those opportunities. I think if you come in with a positive attitude, if you can display, I'll say your work ethic, if you have a willingness to learn, you're open to new ideas, all of those things over time prepare you for potentially different opportunities. You're also being provided opportunities to take on more responsibility. Because you might say, okay, in 2 years, I want to be in this role. But you know what? As you progress and you're building your brand, which is really the foundation of it, is you're building your brand. So everything that you do, you want to keep that in the back of your mind in terms of what you're developing. So really, as you're preparing, you say, okay, I might want to go into this role in 2 years, but other doors might open because you've been saying yes, you've had a positive attitude, strong work ethic. And you know what? Those skills that you have, your strengths maybe you didn't know you had, might lead you to a different path, right? I didn't know I was going to necessarily go management, but I had encouragement, I had mentorship. So all of those factors, I think, play into that opportunity. There's one thing that's I've learned as well in the past is ultimately you say, okay, maybe I want to be in this role in 3 years' time. But I think if you keep your flexibility open to say, okay, you know what? I don't know when that opportunity might come. Maybe it's in 2 years, maybe it's in 4 years. But if I continue to have the mindset that I can continue to prepare every day, meaning take on a new challenge, be embracing that new challenge, be positive, right? Learn new skills, then maybe those opportunities will come, but I'll feel ready. I'll feel prepared for that opportunity when it comes. Versus if I'm the opposite of that approach, the opportunity might come, but I won't be prepared.
Right.
And so whenever that might come. So I kind of think of it in that sense. I think if you start with the right mindset, you can put yourself in a position really to have those different opportunities.
The right mindset is key. And it's funny just hearing both your journeys, like I said, starting in the client services, taking calls, helping solve problems. We've spoken to other Fidelity employees here on FidelityNext who also started in the same center that you did and are now in different areas of the company. Some young grads or young people still have trouble picking up a phone and calling someone on the other end. Did you ever deal with that? How do you get over it? Did you see that with some of your colleagues at the time? I know it's a big thing. Some people are scared. They can't even, make a dentist appointment, right? Like it's hard to do that. Yeah. And I get it. It can be awkward, but it's something you do have to overcome. Was that anything that you ever dealt with?
100%. For me, I can tell you when I got the opportunity to go to the Advisor Service Center, I was also presented to go to the back office, the operations. Right. So I asked my own questions in terms of understanding kind of what the challenges might be, understanding what my strengths are, my weaknesses are. To your point, when I thought, oh man, call center, you're going to be on the phones all the time, speaking to advisors, dealing with problems. Right. And I just thought, okay, I'm not feeling super confident about doing that, but I see where I can continue to develop. Let me embrace it. So that's why I went that direction. But to your point, 100%, I think you just have to kind of be willing to throw yourself in it. And at the end of the day, we touched on it, right? The training aspect, like I felt when I got out of training, certainly still nervous when you're ready to take that first call, but confident at the same time because I knew I had the resources and the training and the support of my team around me to say, I can do this. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So to your point, I think it's kind of a combination maybe of embracing it, but also, when you have the right training and support behind you, that gives you, I guess, the momentum. And really, understanding as well, if you can't understand your strengths and weaknesses and where you still need to develop, I think that could be a nice way to say, okay, should I go in this direction and push myself where maybe I wouldn't perhaps otherwise?
Right. Fidelity has many perks working with this company, great benefits, and one of the key, I guess, perks is our dynamic working environment. We can work hybrid, remote. Yeah. What is a day in the life for you, Sabrina? How does that look for you here at Fidelity?
Okay, so for me, I come into the building around 8 because I live a bit far, so I like to kind of leave my house earlier. So at 8 a.m., I put my stuff, arrange my desk, and then I'll go to the barista, get a coffee, because, we have that luxury. And then I basically log in, and I usually have quite a few meetings. And I tend to kind of rotate between, booking a meeting room, and we have amazing, lots of meeting rooms available. And then there's some meetings that I take from my desk. Also, there might be, an in-person meeting, right? So it's like a group team meeting where we're kind of collaborating and thinking of, okay, what should we tackle next? But it's a good mix of, face-to-face meetings, in-person meetings, and virtual meetings. But yeah, it's a lot of meetings right now.
And normally not? Is it just the season?
Yes, it is the season.
Okay, RSP season.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you, Yorik? What's a day in the life?
Very similar. As a people manager, to your point, you're really in a lot of meetings, but really it's a variety of things. So I've kind of had the opportunity where I also manage different lines of business. We do different things, meaning it's handling calls, it's also processing, but you're also involved in a lot of change, right? So change management in terms of initiatives and projects, different opportunities, but you're also collaborating with different departments. So there's a lot of interaction, there's a lot of collaboration, a lot of meetings around these projects, but also meeting with my team. I have constant skip levels. I have one-on-ones with my direct reports. So there's all of this in terms of understanding, okay, what are the challenges maybe we're facing today? Maybe today something's come up, right? And it's impacting our business. And so we need to collaborate with, maybe our systems team, our finance team, our products to figure out perhaps solutions. And we talked about it a little bit in terms of the culture at Fidelity.
Right.
Such a collaborative environment. I think that's one of the things that makes it a great place to work, is that collaboration to say, okay, I've got a problem, but I know if I go to this team and this team where we have to work towards a solution, there's that openness to ideas and creative thinking to figure out those solutions. So that's one of the things I enjoy about working here.
Okay, I have a fun question that I want to throw at you guys. If your job had a theme song, what would it be?
Wow, that's a good one. If my job had a theme song, what would it be?
I'll let you stew on it for a
Yeah,
second.
please.
I'm honestly just thinking of a song that played recently because I was watching a documentary
Okay.
on Netflix about Avicii. So I'm just thinking levels.
Yes.
And client
that's so
services,
good.
client
So
services.
you guys.
It's such a
That's
fast-paced
actually
environment.
good. Yeah.
There's always things going on. You're always trying to solve problems, etc.
Yeah.
I just thought levels because of how you know the song, I'm sure. So that
Well,
one.
also
I
how
guess
you guys have
I'll say
grown.
right now,
Yeah.
and the busiest time of the year, right? As Sabrina mentioned, RSP season. I would say levels.
That's
for
a
now.
good one.
Avicii,
Yeah.
perhaps.
That's
Do you want to
classic.
steal his?
Yes, I think
There we
we'll
go.
share it.
There we go.
We'll share the song.
That's amazing. Okay, well, this has been a fantastic discussion, but I do want to end on a positive note. How do you stay motivated and continue growing in your role?
Wow, that's a good question. How do you stay motivated? So I think what's important is that you need to have goals set out for yourself, right? Like in 1 to 2 years, I want to see myself here. In the next 3 years, I want to, see myself there. And I think it's important to constantly remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing, right? So, and the thing is that you're working from home, so you don't constantly have your team around you to support you and motivate you. So I think it's really important to really be able to motivate yourself by having these, short-term goals, long-term goals. So you're really working at it, day in and day out and achieving these goals. So I think for me, I always set out this goal that every 2 years, I'm going to kind of, grow to a new role.
That's good for anybody
Yeah.
in any, facet of life, wherever they are, to have goals and,
Absolutely.
try to stick with the plan. What about yourself?
I think it goes back to probably to Sabrina's point. I would agree greatly in terms of the goal setting. That's very important. And I think it just goes back to kind of what I was saying. When I first started at Fidelity, I thought about, okay, just being open to new opportunities, new ideas, try new things. So embracing challenges, and that's something I love about the work I do every day. But it's also saying, okay, maybe doing something like this. You came out, you want to do a webcast? Sure, why not? Right? So it's something new, something I haven't tried before, but ultimately I think it's part of that aspect of maintaining a positive attitude. And I think opportunities come around when you're willing to embrace new ideas, try new things. And I think that keeps you motivated as well, because you never know what you might find around the corner, we'll say.
Very well said. Well, Yorik and Sabrina, thank you so much for the insightful conversation. And thanks to everyone else who tuned in today. We hope you're feeling inspired to start I'm going to restart that. Thank you. Yorik and Sabrina, thank you so much for this insightful conversation. And thanks to everyone else who tuned in today. We hope you're feeling inspired to start exploring opportunities here at Fidelity Canada. If you want to rewatch the show or explore the full library of episodes, you can find it on Fidelity Canada's YouTube page on the FidelityNext playlist. And if you prefer podcasts, you can find our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. It's been lovely being your host today. For FidelityNext, I'm Nicole Correale, and we'll see you on the next episode.